What's going on, guys? Phil Birch here from Unfun Stuff. Kind of be looking at a couple of tier lists. Tamren did a great job. Tamren Cardwell did a great job the other day on his stream, making a tier list of all the characters in the My Hero Academia card game, and this is kind of the list he has drawn out. He calls it the Eda tier. I'm calling it Tam's Trash Can because I think it's way funnier. And there are some definite things that I find to be kind of glaring inconsistencies and probably poor choices on Tamrin's end. And I'm going to kind of start with what I think is the most glaring thing, and that is that Sue is in the same category as other characters. He put her at the top and like the very front and center, but to me, this character is just far and beyond better as a character and a deck consistently than the rest of the meta, and I would have put her in her own tier. Besides that, for A tier, I think Mei Hatsume is way overrated. This character is very good at late games and probably one of the worst characters in an early game situation. I think there are arguably 3 to 4 other life characters that I think pilot that deck better. And despite recent successes of the Maze, I don't find her to be this very consistent A tier, top 4ing events character. I think that she's probably belongs more in like a B tier where she will make tops, but I don't see her consistently making it to the very top of tops. Besides that, I think Kuragiri is probably in the wrong tier. I think all 3 of these last guys are in the wrong tier. I would put them in B. I think Mineta 2, Kuragiri, and Ochako 2 should be probably near the top of B tier. Just because I do find that they do have inconsistencies, both Mineta and Ochako because they're 5 hand size characters, and Kuragiri because his offense is just Eraser's heads pretty much, but worse. You get to play a kick package that you don't really get to capitalize on. I'm finding I'm finding that the most consistent build of Kuragiri is playing a 1-check, and that also to me is hurting his ranking because that does lead to some inconsistencies in gameplay. Toga and Fourth Kind should absolutely be an A tier. Fourth Kind is the meta nuisance, the local meta nuisance, and Toga is the most consistent defensive character besides Asui and Eraserhead. She gets to see so many cards, build up great defensive options, and it's just kind of comical to have her in a tier B. I don't see it. I know that we've only seen Toga make top 8s. She hasn't made a top 4 yet. But I think that that's just a matter of time before she's in the finals or top 4s. Fourth Kind, I wouldn't be surprised to see win the next regional. I think the character is absolutely insane, and barring like a couple of bad draws from being a 5 hand size, I think he is just absolutely dominant. Besides that, All Might, Mina, All Might, Kamui, this is all great. Mina is a fantastic character that I don't think enough people are giving credit to. Especially now that Award the Victor is giving Chaos Mina a little bit more legs to it. I think it's just like it is a fantastic, fantastic character to build a consistent offense around, and also a very good defense because you do get to reach a little bit deeper to find your pieces. I don't necessarily agree with Ingenium, Momo, Bakugo, Gran Torino, or Shoto. I think Momo is like the top of C tier. Nathan DeWalt does a fantastic job, but I think that she is consistently a top of C tier character for me. I think you can do a great job with her, and I think you can absolutely, put 2 and 2 together, smash your opponents into the ground, but that is at the price of some pretty good draws. And Cannon did increase her consistency of damage. So I put her at like the top of C. I think she belongs soundly in here where you could see her make top 16s, top 8s very, very efficiently, very easily. But I don't know how deeply into top 8, right? Like I could see it being somewhere in between. Like if I had like a B minus tier, I would put her right there. But yeah, I think that to me, the A and B tiers are just too big, and I would like to see them condensed down a little bit because I do think that there are good characters, but I don't think that they are consistently. I don't think they could consistently make like a top 8. I mean, anything can make a top 8, but to see it be consistent would be a qualification I would like to use. Deku trash. He should be tossed into the dumpster with the rest of them. Trash. This isn't the good Ida. The good Ida is Ida 2. These guys are both awesome. So I'm glad to see them in C tier. I think they're both great characters. But yeah, this is kind of where I stopped caring a little bit. I put Toru, Ida 1, and who else did I put? I put Toru, Ida 1, and oh, there's another character. I put them. Oh, and Shoto 2. I put Toru, Shoto 2, and Ida 1 in the side deck tier, and I moved the side deck tier up because I think the side deck tier is actually a decent place to be, and I find that those characters are probably going to have the most success being options that you can play into. Like, Shoto 2 is proven to be a pretty decent side deck option for the Mineta decks, and I think that that is probably where he should be. I don't like the character on his own. I think that he struggles in too many of the matchups up here to put him, like, anywhere near here, honestly. I think a lot of these are bad matchups for him, and that, for me, makes it hard for him to be in a tier this high, but I do like him as a side deck option. Same with Toru. I think she's a great side deck character that just can wash a ton of the stuff down here. Like, a lot of things down here, and even some of the 5-hand size characters up here just lose to Toru. I think that's great. And then Ida has a somewhat decent side deck option into Asui. I like it. I like that for him. Stain should be in the trash can tier because that character is absolutely dog. But yeah, let me show you my tier list, guys, and we'll go from there. So this is what mine came out to be, right? I have the S plus tier, so that's Asui. I think she is the best character in the format by far. For A's, I think that Fourth Kind is the second best character right now, just because I think what he does is so crazy to me. Like, he can just punish so aggressively in so many ways. Obviously, Tokiyami is the beacon of aggro consistency. Tons of action still running around, all the action decks. Spot target, like, denial in Hellfire Javelin, Irrefutable. You have great stun options, and your attacks are just gigantic. I like Toga as the fourth best character because I think her defensive options are pretty good. But I would say that these three right here, I would not be upset to see interchanged in any sort of way. If you told me Eraserhead was here and Toga was down here, if you told me Jiro is here, Eraserhead, Toga, like I would not have any problem with that. And I think the worst of the A tier characters is Ochako, but I would not be surprised to see top cutting Ochakos. The biggest movers for me as like a jump upping point, I think Midnight is actually good. This character gets to run the Chaos package incredibly well. Chaos does a fantastic job playing excellent defense. And I think that Tamren having her down somewhere in D tier does not make any sense. Actually, I think he has her in like the worst tier, right? Oh no, he has her in D tier, yeah. I was like, he doesn't have her in the trash can, right? Because that would be just criminal. I find that she is probably make one move away from being like absolutely bonkers, but right now I think her game plan is consistent enough for her to be making top cuts with the right pilot and obviously the right matchups. But I think that anybody in this B tier needs to run some good matchups to make it. And I think that that is like an important distinction for me between the B tier and the A tier. A tier's got a great matches into the field, right? They have great matches into each other. They don't obviously have fantastic matches into Asui all the time. But this B tier right here represents to me having pretty decent matchups against stuff down here, but not necessarily up here. And I think that's where a lot of these characters are going to find their niche, is where like what they do within the A and B tiers, not necessarily what they're doing to the C and below tiers. I like All Might 2 actually over All Might 3. I think this character might not be showing up as consistently, and I guess to be fair, neither is All Might 3. All Might 3 just won a provisional is the only difference. All Might 2's offense is still super scary. And if people are moving on to a game plan of playing less copies of Faith Shield main deck because of the stadium, that brings his offense to a little bit more of a forefront where he does become a more powerful option for a like mid-rangey aggro deck that can just stomp around. Like I said, I love Mina in this category. I think May is in the right spot here. I think these three are like the big boppers, right? The 5-hand size at the top of B that are only held back by their own inconsistencies as a hand size, realistically. I moved a lot of the chaff that Tamron had in B down to C, and I moved a lot of stuff from C down to like D. Um, I don't think that Ingenium Gran Torino are that good. I know Tamron had them in B tier. I think that Sato is pretty good as well, but I think he's C tier good. Selkie, I think, will have a place in the meta. I just don't know where it is yet. Target like turn off of a card is really good, and like that does shore up some of his bad matchups at least a minimal amount. But yeah, like Ojiro's pretty good. I don't know like why you wouldn't have him in like a decent tier. Like these this is like the decent tier. These guys are decent. If you went to locals with these, you'd probably like clean up against other people. And like with some good luck of like playing against stuff within the C, D, maybe even B tier, you can have some success and maybe even make a top 16. But I don't like any of their matchups realistically into stuff up the top. My side deck tier, I've already kind of went over. We got Toru, Ida, and Shoto too. I already went over the reasons for them. I kind of think of that as like a separate bracket where I'm not necessarily saying they're good or better or C tier or D tier. Just that they are different and they hold such niche positions that I think it is correct to put them there. I think Shoto 1 and Bakugo 1 are like the D plus All Stars, D plus C minuses, where like I like particularly Shoto because he can package that water, he can hold the water package so well. It's just that his deck building restrictions are playing more cards, which can't always be like a benefit, you know, like running around with like a 70 to 72 card deck can cause issues in games that like inconsistency based games, you know. Bakugo, I'm just waiting to see this character show up to something before I give him any credit. I put him in D because I don't think he's dog shit, but he is a 6 hand size character completely limited by his draws. Nomu's pile, but he's probably better than the rest of these piles. And I think Ochako 3, there is a world where she is going to become extremely good and probably a problem within the meta. I just don't know when that happens or where that happens at. That character can play a large number of attacks, much like Fourth Kind can, but she gets access to like a little bit different defensive options, and I think that is pretty good for her. I like that she can play like a pretty cool aggro package that still gets to hold on to some defense. The rest of these shitters are pretty bad and pretty self-explanatory as to why. Like, I don't know, Deku could probably be in trash can tier, but like he's fine. He's better than a lot of this other trash. Stain should absolutely be here. This character has no effect for most of the game. I actually should have put Stain lower. I think this character is so bad. Levi's gonna hate that comment, but he's such a do nothing character. You spend half the game with no effect if your opponent likes to block, or you're playing throws, which means you're not playing weapons, which means your character doesn't have an effect. So like, it's just not a character, man. I just don't understand how you can be that bad. I don't understand how you can have an effect that just doesn't work at all. But yeah, all this shit, fucking terrible. Momo 2's terrible. Shinzo's terrible. These fucking promo dudes are awful. Awful, 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 awful. This whole group kind of sucks, and it's kind of a shame. There's probably a world where this All Might doesn't suck as bad as I'm putting him, just because he's a 7 hand size character. But yeah, like the 7 hand size characters down here can probably squeak up just because they're 7 hand size, but these are all kind of shitlords. Monoma could make the side deck tier, but I think he's actually fallen off as a side deck option for the life decks because people are realizing that just having 7 hand size with Toga, Asui, or just being Ochako or Mei is just better. It just doesn't make any sense to do that. But yeah, I think that this is what you should be looking at. If I was to make a tier list that you should like, if I was going to an event, which I am, Orlando, these are the characters up top that I would be like the most worried about. Not necessarily past like All Might. Like these guys, I wouldn't be surprised to see, but like this 15 or whatever so characters right here is super good. Super good, and like the stuff that we've been pretty much preaching about for months now for the meta. The only difference is Fourth kind of snuck in and is like just a big old fucking asshole at this point. But yeah, guys, the differences I think are pretty vast. So I mean, give me your opinions, man. Tell me what you guys think about it. Leave your comments. Like just give me your opinions on this snapshot of the meta, because I think this is a little bit this is probably pretty good. Like, there are arguments here or there, like Gran Torino maybe goes down. Sure, maybe you bring Nomu up if you want to. But yeah, it's like there's a little bit of movement in this bottom portion, but I think this top portion is pretty rock solid. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in to another video of mine on YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification button, guys. Leave replies, man. Comments. I keep saying it. I want to know what you guys think, what I could be doing better, what you guys think of the content in general. What do you think about it directly? Like this tier list, how's it going? You know, like, is this what you expect to see out of the Orlando Regional? Like, is this what we're looking at? Is this what we should be looking at? Anyway, guys, that's just another quick video, man. Look forward to dropping this one on Monday probably, and cheers.